Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Thursday's edition of Alaska Weather on the 12th day of May, 2022. I'm David Percy. Up first on the hazardous weather graphic, we'll see that there's a winter weather advisory out for the Denali National Park area, and that includes Healy and Denali National Park, as well as Cantwell, Carlo Creek, and Kantishna. And that advisory is out until noon Friday, and between now and then, looking to pick up 6 to 10 inches of new snow in that area. Of course, the 10 inches will be a localized amount, mainly restricted to the higher elevations, with the 6-inch amount more prevalent across the area. But a fair amount of snow coming into that area here over the next 24 hours. Otherwise, that's it as far as watches, warnings, and advisories go around the state. Total lunar eclipse, Sunday night, May 15th to 16th, best viewed, Eastern North America. Mid-eclipse will take place at 12:11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, May 16th. However, it's not going to really be visible from Alaska, and NASA, the source of this graphic. Moving on to satellite imagery, you can see the next surge of moisture coming into the northwest part of the state and then starting to slide southeastward, spreading clouds, rain, and snow with it into the Fairbanks area today and in the upper Yukon Valley, and starting to get a little more showery back out toward the Bering Sea coast there, and seeing some mid and high level clouds, mostly cirrus, starting to push into the south central Alaska area east of the Alaska Range. Otherwise, a pretty sunny day across southern Alaska, including Kodiak Island, Alaska Peninsula, high pressure dominating the Aleutians there. And you can see just a real weak frontal boundary there across the northern Bering Sea from Nunivak Island across St. Matthew Island. And that's kind of delineating the jet stream there a little bit, coming over the top of the high pressure area that's been entrenched over the southern Bering Sea last couple of days, and it'll stay there for a few more days. Otherwise, clouds over the southern panhandle still producing some isolated shower activity down that way in the southern areas, but mostly ended. Only 0.04 of an inch in the last 12 hours occurred at Ketchikan, and that ended at about 11 a.m. this morning. Otherwise, behind that system up to the north, pretty gusty north winds as high as 50 miles an hour. Behind that, with cold air coming southward again, riding in on those northerly winds. Again, Tin City gusts 50 miles an hour, Nome seeing gusts 30 to 35 miles an hour, and north winds gusting 36 miles an hour, both at Shishmaref and Point Hope. So some pretty good winds coming in behind that system, with the rain and snow off in advance of that. And on the chart, there's that front coming east-southeastward, roughly from the eastern Koyukuk Valley, extending down into the Yukon Delta. Not a lot of precipitation there, or that weak trailing edge coming down along the Yukon Delta coast of Nunivak Island, most of it up into the interior. Some moisture starting to work into the central and southern Kuskokwim Valley, kind of hanging up on the Kuskokwim Mountains there, but definitely spreading into the central interior areas and a little to the east. Otherwise, mostly sunny day. Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, a lot of sunshine once again, Kenai Peninsula and Cook Inlet. Increasing clouds to sit in the valley and northern Copper River Basin areas, but still some sunshine today north of the Alaska Range there, up around Northway, Tok, not quite the Eagle though. And then the shower activity over the southern panhandle and variable clouds give way to mostly clear skies from the North Gulf Coast. There's that big area high pressure out over the Bering Sea, 1,030 millibars, keeping all the moisture and storminess back to the west there, and some of that breaks off and comes up into the Russian Far East and then breaks off to the east there in the stronger wind flow aloft, and probably see another surge come through on, Saturday, make landfall on the northwest coast. Otherwise, tonight, the first front here pushes eastward toward the eastern border, and a weak low center develops on that frontal boundary, as it jumps the Alaska Range there. So a weak low develops over the Kenai Peninsula, so clouds will continue to increase this evening with increasing chances of rain and snow showers. All areas of south central Alaska into the Prince William Sound area, and even Kodiak Island might see some shower activity, mainly over the mountainous terrain as that front kicks through late tonight. Increasing moisture, snow, rain and snow for the Copper River Basin, but it'll be on the light side, and still a chance of showers over the southern panhandle there, and it'll stay dry to the north. And again, that front out to the west there can't really make any eastward progress with that strong area of high pressure centered over the central Bering Sea. Light winds and dry conditions with some clearing, that high kind of ridging up into the Bering Strait now, so diminishing winds there for the Seward Peninsula as well as the western Arctic coast, but you can see a tighter gradient pushing into the Kobuk Valley and eastern Norton Sound, so winds will be increasing there with colder temperatures and some decreasing snow shower activity. Outlook for Friday, got high pressure ridging into the western interior, and on the eastern side of that ridge we've got several troughs dropping southward with enhanced area of snow showers on the eastern Arctic coast, rain and snow showers upper Yukon Valley down to the White Mountains, maybe getting a little farther south than that, possibly into the Fairbanks area. And that other trough looks like a cloudy day tomorrow with scattered showers through south central Alaska in the form of rain or snow depending on elevation and time of day. Same thing for the North Gulf Coast, and still a chance of shower activity over the southern panhandle, but looks mostly sunny, say from Sitka to Juneau northward to Haines, Skagway, and Gustavus, those areas, and into the Yukon. And then taking a look at the outlook for Saturday, some moisture backing around that low south of the Gulf of Alaska will bring a chance of showers into the east side of Kodiak Island. Some of that may be spreading up into southern Cook Inlet, Kachemak, Kamishak Bay areas. Otherwise, not so great a chance of showers over south central Alaska, but still a risk of an isolated shower or two in the Susitna Valley and the Talkeetna Mountains. Kind of a mostly cloudy day, also implying maybe some partly sunny conditions in the afternoon. Mostly dry with some partial clearing for the North Gulf Coast. Chance of rain and snow showers again, Tanana Valley, or the upper Tanana Valley, especially a 40-mile country from Eagle southward to Nebezna, Northway, Tok, and those areas. Now the Panhandle looks mostly cloudy with showers in store for the area there. And then the next front coming eastward there, the low center over the Arctic Ocean, the front coming across the Russian Far East. That's going to tighten up the pressure gradient there as it approaches the western Arctic coast. So it looks like a pretty windy day coming up Saturday and Saturday afternoon for Point Hope and Cape Lisburne areas, with a chance of moisture into the Bering Strait. High pressure holds over the southern Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Lows tonight 10 to 20 above for the North Slope and the Arctic coast, and in the 20s for the Brooks Range, down to 12 for Anatuvik Pass. Otherwise upper 20s to lower 30s for interior Alaska, mid to upper 30s southern Alaska, lower 40s Kodiak Island, and 35 to 42 for the Panhandle. Highs for tomorrow, southeast coast, upper 40s to maybe lower or possibly mid 50s, 56 forecast high in Juneau. 46 there for Glen Allen, Gull Canyon, and Copper River Basin. Highs near 50 south central Alaska to Kodiak Island and Bristol Bay, and 40s to lower 50s out over the Aleutians. In the 20s for the Brooks Range, North Slope and Arctic coast, mid 30s, lower to mid 30s for the Seward Peninsula and St. Lawrence Island area. The Yukon Delta highs in the upper 30s, Kuskokwim Delta in the 40s. And then the lows for Saturday morning, dropping back down towards zero there at Anatuvik Pass, looking at a low about 3 above. Otherwise, 5 to 15 for the North Slope and the Arctic coast, and mostly in the 20s for the Seward Peninsula area. 25 to 32 for the lows, so kind of a hard freeze coming into some areas of the west central interior of the state again, with upper 20s all the way out to the southwest coast. Lows in the 30s south and east of the Alaska Range into the Panhandle, and then the highs for Saturday afternoon shaping up like this: 50s for the Panhandle, 50 to 55 southern Alaska, in the 40s in the central interior, upper 20s to lower 30s for the North Slope of the Arctic coast, mid 30s for the northern Bering Sea around St. Lawrence Island, lower 40s for the
Hi everyone, I'm Jess Sano with your weekly Alaska Breakup Outlook and Update. Right now, we do have an active flood warning for Circle and Glen Allen, and a flood watch on Galena and Stevens Village. There are 3 components to consider when determining breakup. That's ice thickness and strength, snowpack, and spring weather patterns. Our late April and early May temperatures will control snowmelt rates, thermal condition and integrity of the ice, and the type of breakup, whether it leads to a more mechanical or a more thermal breakup season. There is currently a flood warning out for Glen Allen, as I said, and they are experiencing snowmelt flooding right now. Even though we are moving towards the end of breakup, snowmelt flooding can occur 2 to 3 weeks post breakup. So stay alert for those snowmelt related floods. We've already been experiencing a dynamic breakup. We've had ice jams at Circle, McGrath, Galena, just to name a few, and it's likely we will experience more in the upcoming weeks. Right now, again, we have a flood warning out for Glen Allen and Circle, and a flood watch out for Galena and Stevens Village. The upper Cusco has some open water as well as some mostly open water. The upper Yukon and upper Koyukuk are mostly open, and our northern rivers and a lot of the headwaters are mostly ice. This map is updated all day, every day, so check our website for the most current conditions. We're expecting fairly normal temperatures, no rapid warm up over the next few days, which is great for our snowmelt potential and ice jamming. This is from Eagle, and as you can see, our temperatures are outlooked to be right within that normal range, that brownish tan bar. And here is that same temperature forecast for Fairbanks, and again, we are right in that normal area for the outlooked temperatures over the next few days. No rapid warming is expected. Checking out our webcams, here's the Yukon River at Eagle. We're seeing a lot of open water there. Yukon River at Galena, this ice jam just broke yesterday, so we're seeing the remnants of that, a little bit of ice on the water. Looking at the Kuskokwim watershed, the river at Sleepmute is pretty open, and the river at Bethel seems to have quite a bit of ice on it just from moving down the river. Again, we can go over what our warnings mean here at the National Weather Service. There's flood warning, which means that the hazard flooding is imminent or already happening, and you should take action. A flood watch means conditions are favorable for a specific flood event or hazard, so be prepared. And a flood advisory means that a significant inconvenience is upcoming, so be aware of the situation and know that it can change very quickly. Our River Watch flights are done on the Kuskokwim River, but they are still planned for the middle and upper Yukon, so stay tuned for photos from those. And you can find those photos on our Facebook page, which is U.S. National Weather Service Alaska, or on www.weather.gov/APRFC/geophoto. And we update our Facebook and that website as soon as we get those photos in, typically the next day, from our crews that are flying. And most importantly, we do need your observations. Go ahead and give us a call here at the APRFC at 907-266-5160 or 1-800-847-1739. You can email us at nws.ar.aprfc@noaa.gov or check our website, and there's a link where you can submit any observations. And as I said, check out our website for the most current conditions, as well as active flood watches, warnings, and advisories. We will be having one more video next week, so I will see you then.
Greetings, my little sunspots. Next week, Halley's Comet provides us with the gift of the AKwx meteor shower, peaking May 5th and 6th. To find it, get up early or stay up late and hit the skies around 5 a.m. with some warm clothes on and look east. Mars and Saturn are both visible in the eastern sky, and if you use them as guides, you can easily find where to look. The AKwx appear to emanate from Aquarius, who's hard to see IRL because he is so dim, but with the magic of TV, you can see him here. The meteors seem to come from his water jar and peak at up to 60 an hour. The streaks are bits of ice and rock shed by the famous Halley's Comet, which passes every 76 years, next time in 2061. Halley's meteors are called Earth grazers because they make long streaks that seem to come from the horizon itself. Get out there, enjoy the show, and keep looking up.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Flying weather shows a lot of IFR out over the Bering Sea and down into the Aleutians, with IFR to the Alaska Peninsula, VFR Bristol Bay up along the lower Yukon River, and then some areas of marginal VFR with IFR scattered in the east central interior, IFR North Slope and eastern Arctic coast, VFR most of the Panhandle, southern quarter of the southeast coast, marginal VFR to Dixon Entrance. And then for the afternoon, VFR increasing over the southwest interior up to the Seward Peninsula, northern Bering Sea, St. St. Lawrence Island, Nunivak Island, both in the VFR area, Bristol Bay VFR, Kodiak VFR, and Cook Inlet on up into the Sitna Valley, becoming VFR. Marginal VFR, though, holding over northern Cook Inlet, Manuska Valley, Kenai Peninsula, Copper River Basin, North Gulf Coast, and up across the mid and upper Tanana Valley, with some IFR there for the Eastern Brooks Range and North Slope. Southern half of the Panhandle, marginal VFR, northern half VFR, and then the North Gulf Coast, marginal VFR there from Yakutat westward. A lot of IFR, Pribilof Islands down to the western Alaska Peninsula, and most of the Aleutians, except Shimei and Attu. And then for Saturday morning, most of the Aleutians, again, southern Bering Sea, IFR, and a band of IFR just east of the Pribilof Islands, lying across St. Matthew Island, marginal VFR for St. Lawrence Island. Brooks Range on out to the Arctic coast, looks pretty marginal for the morning Saturday, with IFR over the eastern part of the state, from the eastern Alaska Range northward up to the Yukon River. Also some IFR for Prince William Sound. And for the afternoon, IFR along the north slopes of the central and eastern Alaska Range, Dollar Junction, Nenana, maybe Fairbanks, marginal VFR though up along the Yukon River toward Old Crow, but VFR, much of interior Alaska, some marginal VFR lingering over the Talkeetna Mountains, eastern, and then to the Wrangell Mountains, North Gulf Coast, VFR, Kodiak, marginal VFR, same thing for the Panhandle, but Bristol Bay, VFR, as well as the Alaska Peninsula. Enittuvik, marginal VFR at times tomorrow, mostly marginal for Adigan, maybe even IFR to start. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, call it marginal VFR, lowest conditions on both western approaches. Rainy, IFR with the lowest conditions on the western entrance. Windy, look for occasional IFR tomorrow, especially in the AM. And Isabel, marginal VFR. Mentasta also looking marginal. Tanita, marginal. And Portage, marginal VFR. Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels at the surface up into the interior tomorrow morning, but 2,000 feet down along the southwest coast, southern Cook Inlet, and eastern North Gulf Coast, but warmer conditions out over the central and southern Bering Sea, southwest Bering, 8 to 10,000 feet, so warmer air aloft out that way. Icing, areas of isolated moderate rime icing there for the Arctic coast, North Slope down into the central eastern Brooks Range, much of the central and eastern interior right on down into northern Cook Inlet and the Kenai Peninsula, and some elevated icing threats also for the southern Panhandle. And taking a look at the jet stream, northerly winds 95 knots, cold upper low there over the eastern North Slope, another one dropping down south-southeast into the Gulf of Alaska tomorrow afternoon. And so we got pretty good northerly flow between those low centers and the higher pressure over the southwest Bering Sea, up to 100 knots there blowing across the Alaska Peninsula. And at 9,000 feet, trough over the eastern part of the state into the Gulf of Alaska. Northerly winds, 35 to 50 knots, strongest over the Alaska Peninsula. Swinging around to the south over the western Aleutians at about 40 to 45 knots. And for 3,000 feet, again, low pressure developing and dropping into the western Gulf of Alaska, just south of the Kenai Peninsula, or western Prince William Sound. Other low up over the Yukon Flats area. So light winds up that way increase over the western and southwest part of the state, 25 to 30 knots, and then 35 knots out of the north of the Alaska Peninsula. North-northwest, 40 knots, Kodiak Island. Light over the Panhandle, high pressure making for light winds in the Bering Sea and over the Aleutians. Turbulence-wise, surface 6,000 feet, considerable moderate chop there. Cape Newenham into the southern Kuskokwim Mountains, Kamishak Bay there, Iliamna Lake, and the Alaska Peninsula. And after the break, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Looking at today's sea ice analysis. You can see really thinning out, a lot of sea ice-free water now in Norton Sound and extending up toward the Bering Strait, and then heavier ice over toward the north shore of St. Lawrence Island. And for the coastal water forecast for tomorrow, Friday, light winds on the coast, Panhandle 10 knots from the south for the south coast, southeast 10 knots on the north coast, seas 3 feet. Stevens Passage, south winds at 10 knots with 2-foot seas, same thing for the northern inside waters. Clarence Strait down to the south there, looking at a southeast breeze of 15 knots. Outlook for Saturday, variable winds at 10 knots for the north coast. East to southeast breeze at 10 knots for the south coast with 4-foot seas. Clarence Strait, southeast winds at 10 knots. Stevens Passage, a north wind at 10 knots. Lincoln Island Glacier Bay, afternoon southerlies at 15 knots with 3-foot seas. For the North Gulf Coast, basically east winds at 20 knots tomorrow with 5-foot seas. Prince William Sound about the same, east winds 20 knots, seas 4 feet. Cook Inlet, north winds 15 to 20 knots, 3 to 5-foot seas. And gale warnings for Kamishak Bay, northwest winds 35 knots and 30-knot northwest winds for the Barren Islands. Small craft advisories for the North Gulf Coast on Saturday for northeast winds 25 to 30 knots with seas at about 6 feet. Prince William Sound, northwest winds 15 knots. And for northern Cook Inlet, winds will be out of the north at 20 knots. Southern Cook Inlet to Kamishak Bay, northerlies at 30 knots with 8 to 9-foot seas. Western North Gulf, or for Barren Islands, northeast winds at 30 knots. Kodiak Island, northwest winds 25 to 30 knots. Alaska Peninsula, north winds at 25 knots. Bristol Bay, northwest 25 knots. And for Saturday, Kodiak Island, north winds 30 knots, seas 8 feet. And northwest winds 20 to 25 knots for the Alaska Peninsula. And Bristol Bay, northwest winds at 20 knots, seas 4 feet. On Alaska Island tomorrow, north winds 15 to 25 knots, otherwise Unimak Island north at 15. Light variable winds for Adak and Atka really laid down. Wind-wise 10 knots, seas not too bad, 3 to 5 feet. East-southeast winds 15 knots from Amchitka Island to Shemya. And for Saturday, Shemya at Amchitka, east winds 15 knots, seas 4 feet. Winds stay light and variable for Adak and Atka at 10 knots with 2 to 4-foot seas out there. And for the eastern Aleutians, north to northwest winds, 10 to 20 knots. And for the Pribilof Islands, St. Matthew Island, and the Yukon Delta coast, all with a 10-knot variable wind in the forecast tomorrow with 2 to 3-foot seas, but small craft advisories for the Kuskokwim Delta coastline, northwest winds at 25 there, and west winds of 15 knots for St. Lawrence Island and 20 knots out of the northwest for the Norton Sound area. And the outlook for Saturday, Pribilofs northwest of 15, northwest 20 knots for the southwest coast, St. Matthew Island, southwest 15 for St. Lawrence Island. Up along the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, west northwesterlies at 15 knots tomorrow, west 15 for the central coast, west side, west winds 20 knots, and from Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson, southwest winds at 20 knots, Cape Thompson to Wales, southwesterlies at 10 knots. And the day Saturday, brisk wind advisories for the western Arctic coast all the way down to Wales for southerly winds at 25 to 30 knots, strongest there in the western Capes. Central Arctic coast, southwest winds at 20 knots, and westerlies at 15 knots over toward Demarcation Point. And moving on to tonight, again, cold front moves east and southeast. A weak low develops there over the Kenai Peninsula during the night tonight. So look for clouds to increase here, south central Alaska, with increasing chances of shower activity as well. That'll include Kodiak Island. And otherwise, areas of snow shift eastward toward the border with rain and snow over the Copper River Basin and into the Mananuska-Susitna Valley. Dry over the Panhandle, lingering shower chances down toward Dixon Entrance due to that low near the Queen Charlottes, but high pressure dominating the Bering Sea tonight, tomorrow, and into Saturday. Less in the way of shower activity, but still on the chilly side with rain and snow showers over the eastern part of the interior. Partly to mostly sunny on the west side into the Bering Sea with light winds. Outlook for Saturday, mostly sunny over the western half of the state, east-southeast part of the state.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.